Chapter 1. Humankind's Cradle. The cradle of mankind was located in the center of Alkebulan, amid an endless sky that reached the horizon. There, the majesty of nature was shown at every sunrise and sunset. It was a place of unadulterated beauty. Dawn's golden light greeted the earth, and whispering winds conveyed the stories of long before. This is the place where the earth was first touched by human footsteps and where life itself first began. The Karamu people had flourished for generations in this hallowed place, their energies melded with the earth. It was a location where the vigor of life seemed to pulse and breathe like the ground. As the sun rose, the people were reminded that life itself was a gift given to them by the divine hand of Alkebulan, and each day began with a deep sense of reverence. The Karamu gathered by the banks of the great river as the sun rays cast the land in amber and gold tones. The calm elegance of its flowing streams echoed the age-old rhythm of life. The morning ceremony was led by elderly tribal members, their features engraved with the wisdom of incalculable years. Their voices blended in perfect harmony with the surrounding natural environment as they sang songs about creation. Youngsters listened with open eyes, fascinated by the elders' accounts of Alkebulan's beginnings. They talked about how the first people to set foot on this hallowed ground left behind imprints that would later form the basis of civilization. The children were struck by the weight of history and the deep bond that existed between their people and the country. A herd of elephants lumbered gracefully in the distance, a symbol of Alkebulan's unwavering spirit. The Karamu people held the belief that these amazing animals guarded the cradle of humankind, and their existence signified the innate magic of the region. The Karamu went about their normal lives during the day, tending to fields, making elaborate jewelry, or laughing with family and friends. Every task was imbued with a profound sense of purpose, a recognition that they were residing on the very spot where humanity had its beginnings. The Karamu gathered again as the sun sank below the horizon, bathing the savannah in a brilliant glow. This occasion was for a group dinner in honor of the fullness of life in Alkebulan. The smell of cooked meats, exotic spices, and the tribe's laughter filled the air. The Karamu shared stories beneath the starry sky, their voices melting into the night sounds of the forest. They traced the trajectories of their ancestors by joining the dots in the sky while they looked at the constellations. It served as a reminder that they were linked to a continuous chain that dated all the way back to the beginning of human history. And the Karamu realized how fortunate they were to be able to call Alkebulan home as they dozed asleep, rocked by the soft murmurs of the night. It was a place where the past and present lived in perfect harmony and where every rock and riverbed bore the tales of creation. They loved being the caretakers of this hallowed ground, understanding that it was their responsibility to preserve its heritage and transmit it to the next generation. Chapter 2. The people of Karamu. The Karamu tribe thrived in the center of this old continent. They were the live proof of the cultural diversity that had developed over innumerable generations, and they represented the legacy of Alkebulan. Since the word Karamu itself means celebration, it reflects their conviction that life should be enjoyed to the fullest and with a sincere gratitude for the land's blessings. Every member of the diverse Karamu community possessed special skills and anecdotes to share. The youth, full of energy and curiosity, carried the torch of tradition into the future, while the elders, the knowledge keepers, mentored the young with stories of their ancestry. The tribe was bound together not only by blood but also by a common goal, to protect and disseminate the Alkebulan legacy worldwide. Respect for the natural world was highly valued among the Karamu people. Living in tune with the earth's rhythms, they saw themselves as stewards of the soil. The great river was more than simply a water source, it was a vital force that kept their crops and people alive. They considered the earth beneath their feet, the animals, and the trees themselves to be sacred. The vibrant tapestry of their culture was reflected in the exquisite crafts created by the talented Karamu people. The exquisite designs woven by women into textiles reveal a tale about their culture, one thread at a time. The designs of jewelry made by men were influenced by the natural world, ranging from the iridescent colors of a butterfly's wings to the beautiful curvature of a gazelle's horn. The Karamu observed a number of festivals all year long to commemorate the varying seasons. There was feasting and dancing during the festival of harvest, when the first fruits of the earth were offered as a gesture of thanks. Invoking the coming of life-giving showers to quench the parched soil, the festival of rain was observed with songs and rituals. Youngsters were raised learning their tribe's songs and dances, which were inherited from previous generations. Every gesture, every note served as a link to the past and their forefathers. These customs were vibrant representations of the Karamu people, not artifacts from a bygone past. The tribe made friends and traded with other communities when they came across them as they grew. They learned from others and enhanced their own culture by exchanging cuisine, music, and storytelling. The legacy of the Alkebulan people extended beyond their tribe and was a contribution to the global community. The Karamu knew that they were only carrying on a journey that had started when the first humans arrived in Alkebulan. Not only were they the people who lived in the cradle of humanity, but they were also its living legacy, charged with the duty of caring for and defending the cultural heritage that was rightfully theirs. Thus, the Karamu flourished under the wide African sky as a people united by love, respect, and a strong bond with the country they called home. They accepted their responsibility as the guardians of this ancient legacy because they understood how inextricably linked their tale was to the story of Alkebulan. Chapter 3, Alkebulan's Land. The scenery of Alkebulan was a patchwork of exquisite beauty. The acacia trees stood vigil against the boundless sky as the huge savannas extended to the far horizon. The colors of the wild flowers, which covered the rolling hills, changed with the seasons. Large rivers gushed across this country, feeding the soil and sustaining the lives of the things that lived there. The Karamu were aware of the abundance of natural wonders on their territory. Alkebulan's lifeblood was the great river, which meandered through their domain. Fish teemed in its waterways, while lush flora grew along its banks. Not only was it a food source, but it was also a holy being, honored as the source of life. The landscape of Alkebulan changed during the course of the year, resembling a work of art created by a divine being. The savannas turned a rich green during the rainy season, and the ground was covered in brightly colored flowers. The air smelled of rain-soaked earth as the land rejoiced in its renewal. A distinct character emerged in the country throughout the dry season. The animals congregated near the disappearing water sources as the grasses changed to gold. It was an era of perseverance in the face of hardship and survival. By moving their cattle to more lush pastures, the Karamu people adjusted to these changes. Alkebulan's fauna richness was astounding. The savannas were home to a lion, whose imposing presence was a representation of bravery and might. With their ageless wisdom, elephants strolled through the forests with grace, leaving a trail of vital water holes in their wake. Zebras, giraffes, and wildebeests weaved a living picture of the patterns found in nature. The animals were not only respected members of their tribe but were neighbors to the Karamu. They held that every living thing had a spirit and a function in maintaining the harmony of life. The antelope stood for grace, the elephant for wisdom, and the lion for bravery. Alkebulan's trees were held in the same regard. With their limbs extending to the sky, the imposing baobabs resembled guardians. With their enormous trunks rumored to contain the stories of countless generations, they were revered as the custodians of age-old wisdom. The Karamu frequently gathered to seek consolation and direction under the shadow of these giants. The Karamu had become adept at interpreting the clues left by the land as the years and seasons changed. They knew where to obtain water during the driest of times, when the rains would arrive, and how to harvest the abundance of nature without depleting it. Their familiarity with Alkebulan was evidence of their close relationship. The Alkebulan terrain was an essential component of the Karamu people's identity, not only a setting for their life. Its wealth and beauty served as a continual reminder of their duty as caretakers of this hallowed territory. They realized that they were more than just residents of Alkebulan as they took in the always shifting landscape. They were an integral component of the complex web of life that had its origins in the cradle of humankind. Chapter 4, Morning Customs. The Karamu tribe awoke to the rising sun on each day in Alkebulan with a deep sense of devotion. The dawn signaled the change from night to day and served as a constant reminder that Alkebulan's heavenly touch had given them life. By the banks of the great river, the Karamu gathered as the first light of morning painted the sky in pink and orange hues. Its waters reflected the constantly shifting hues of the sky, and the soft ripples appeared to represent the pulse of the country. The morning ceremony was led by elderly tribal members, their features engraved with the wisdom of incalculable years. They faced east, where the sun would rise shortly, as they stood on the river bank. The melodies of creation were conveyed by their voices, which had a rich, strong resonance. They cried, "Awake, O land of Alkebulan," with blessings and prayers intermingled in their words. "We are the keepers of your sacred beauty, and we honor the gift of existence. Wake up to a new day of life and possibilities." The chorus was joined by all the tribal members, young and old. The rustle of leaves, the distant sound of wildlife, and the chirping of birds all blended well with their voices. It was an acknowledgement of the interconnection of all living things and a symphony of appreciation. The group fell silent as the sun's first golden rays emerged from the horizon. With amazement in their souls, the Karamu bent their heads in silent thought. They sensed the sun's warmth on their skin, a palpable link to the heavenly being they thought was keeping watch over them. From an early age, the tribe's wide-eyed and inquisitive young ones were trained to understand the importance of this daily rite. They discovered that the sun represented life itself and was more than just a celestial body. It lit up the crop's root, warmed the ground, and promoted their growth. Reminding themselves of their position in the vast scheme of things was the dawn ritual. They were intricately interwoven into the earth's rhythms, not anything distinct from it. There was an intricate equilibrium between the sun, the river, the land, and the sky, and the Karamu had a part in preserving it. When the sun rose higher and brighter, illuminating the surroundings, the Karamu would scatter to go about their everyday lives. The deep bond they created at the dawn ceremony would follow them all day, giving their work meaning and appreciation. Thus, the Karamu tribe reaffirmed their pledge to protect the environment and preserve their cultural legacy with each dawn in Alkebulan. The ceremony was straightforward yet deep, serving as a daily reminder of their role in the enormous scheme of Alkebulan, the mother of mankind. Chapter 5, Stepping to the beat of the drum. Dance in Alkebulan was a holy manifestation of the Karamu tribe's relationship to the earth, the spirits, and one another. It was not just a way to amuse oneself. In their culture, dancing was a vital aspect that was utilized to pay tribute to the ancestors and commemorate life itself. The Karamu gathered in their village's center square as the sun rose, casting the sky in pink and gold hues. A gigantic baobab tree, with branches resembling the limbs of an ancient sage, loomed at the center of the area. It offered much-needed relief from the rising heat of the day in the form of shade. drummers arranged themselves in a circle in the middle of the plaza. These drums were the beating heart of Alkebulan, more than just musical instruments. They created rhythms that were more than just music, they were a dialogue with the land's spirits and the ancestors who had come before them. The Karamu gathered around the drums in a circle, their vivid fabrics seeming to catch the essence of the land itself. With every stride they took, they established a connection with the ground beneath their feet. The men's motions echoed the grace of the animals they revered, while the women's skirts fluttered in the breeze like wildflowers. The air filled with the hypnotic rhythm passed down through the years as the drummers started to perform. It caused the dancers to go into a trance-like state as it pumped through their veins. The drum beat called to their own souls, at once primordial and transcendent. The dance that developed was an ode to the fullness of life. It recounted tales of the terrain, such as a gazelle's flight, a lion's pursuit, and the wind-tossed trees. Every stride was homage to the interdependence of all living things, and every action had purpose. The dance was led by the elderly, whose graceful movements came from their experience. Their actions served as a link to the past since they were the guardians of custom. The younger generations came next, bringing a lively layer to the dance with their passion and energy. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the baobab trees' shadows became mottled. Absorbed in the beat, the dancers thought they were communicating directly with Alkebulan's soul. It was a dance of solidarity, kinship, and deep reverence for the land that had supported their life for many centuries. The Karamu gave a collective cheer as the dance reached its climax, raising their voices to the heavens. The drummers' blurry hand movements culminated in a thunderous finale for the tune. It was a time of total unity, a merging of the material, spiritual, and environmental realms. The Karamu realized that their dance was a declaration of their identity in the vast Alkebulan tapestry, not merely a way to express their happiness. As the last note of the drumbeat faded into the atmosphere, the country itself served as the stage, and they were the dancers. They respected the mother of mankind's spirit at every turn. Chapter 6, A colorful tapestry in Alkebulan. Life was full of vitality, seen not just in their customs and ceremonies but also in the fabric of their everyday lives. The tribe known as the Karamu decorated themselves with a rainbow of colors that represented their ancestry, culture, and bond with the land. The Karamu people thought that colors had spiritual importance in addition to aesthetic value. From the deep greens of the savanna to the flaming reds of the setting sun, each tint symbolized a different facet of their world. They dressed with reverence every day, selecting hues that matched their feelings and objectives. The tribe's women were expert weavers, creating elaborate textiles that were a visual feast. Their looms woven together strands of earthy browns, deep blues, and vivid reds hummed a rhythmic melody. The finished textiles were artistic creations that each told a distinct tale. At festivals and important events, the women would dress in elaborately patterned clothing with symbolic designs. These patterns represented the history and beliefs of the Karamu people and were more than just ornamental. Some patterns reflected the stars that lit their night skies, while others showed the meandering course of the great river. The tribe's men were equally adept at understanding color-coded communications. They wore clothes and jewelry with elaborate beadwork that emphasized their dual responsibilities as hunters and protectors. Their clothing's rich colors were evocative of the animals they admired, such as a zebra's striking stripes or a bird's vivid feathers. The tribe's younger members purposefully wore colorful clothing. Soft, vibrant fabrics were used to swaddle babies as a representation of their potential and promise. As they aged, the stages of life, from infant innocence to old age wisdom, were reflected in their attire. Color filled the Karamu people's dwellings as well as their clothes. Hand-woven tapestries that depicted events from their tribe's past graced their homes. These textiles were as more than just ornaments, they served as concrete links to their ancestors and the country. Alkebulan's colors were dynamic, changing with the seasons and the tribe's festivals. The community would come alive with color at the festival of harvest, when the Karamu would dress in their brightest attire and adorn their homes with fabrics and flowers. With the sun setting and a warm, golden glow spreading across the land in Alkebulan, the Karamu realized that their use of color was more than just a design element. They used it as a means of connecting with the deity, honoring the land, and expressing their feelings. It served as a tangible example of the conviction that they were a vital component of a colorful tapestry that the Mother of Humanity had weaved. Food in Alkebulan culture was a celebration of life itself, not just a means of subsistence. African cooking had been refined to a fine art by the Karamu tribe, who produced meals with a harmonic fusion of tastes, textures, and customs. Their rich culinary history served as a monument to the riches of the land in Alkebulan. Grain and vegetables were produced by the savannas, and an abundant supply of fish was offered by the great river and its lush banks. Additionally, the Karamu kept goats, chickens, and cattle to provide a steady supply of protein. The communal kitchen, where the flavors of Alkebulan came to life, was the center of the Karamu village. The aroma of spices and herbs filled the air as the fire roared beneath the big pots. The mamas, the ladies of the tribe, performed their culinary magic here. Whole of rice, a fragrant concoction of rice, tomatoes, peppers, and spices, is one of the Karamu people's signature meals. This meal, which was frequently served during get-togethers and festivities, exuded coziness and unity. The mamas took great satisfaction in honing their whole of rice recipes and incorporating their individual touches into the meal. Grilled meats marinated in a symphony of spices that danced on the palate were another culinary marvel. At feasts, the aroma of sizzling skewers filled the air, enticing villagers from all directions to indulge in the delicious delicacies. There were no ignoring vegetables in Karamu cooking. The mamas made substantial stews and soups that were loaded with veggies, okra, and yams. These delicacies were evidence of the Karamu people's ties to the land in addition to being delectable. In Alkebulan, every meal was a cause for happiness and festivity. As the Karamu came to enjoy their culinary delights, the village square would come alive with laughing and chatter. It was a time to tell stories, spend time with loved ones, and express gratitude to Alkebulan for all of its many gifts. The diversity of the tribe's cultures was also reflected in the Alkebulan cuisine. The Karamu welcomed new foods and cooking methods as they came into contact with nearby groups. Their individual customs were enhanced by this gastronomic combination, creating a cuisine that was as varied as the people. Food served as both a bodily and a spiritual source of nutrition. The Karamu would thank the spirits and ancestors in their prayers before each meal. They felt that by sharing their food, they were paying tribute to the ancestors who had nurtured them for many generations. With their tummies full, the Karamu would retreat to their huts as the sun sank below the horizon, illuminating the savanna in a warm, golden glow. African cuisine was more than just filling the stomach, it was a celebration of culture, a link to the land, and evidence that food and life are supposed to be shared and appreciated. Chapter 7, Festivities and Snacking celebrates were an essential aspect of life in Alkebulan, a means to pay tribute to the past, enjoy the present, and look forward to the future. The Karamu tribe rejoiced with delight and thankfulness because they knew that every moment of happiness was a gift from the Mother of Mankind. The Festival of Harvest was one of the most eagerly awaited events in Alkebulan. It was the end of months of hard work in the fields and a sign that it was time to enjoy the fruits of their labor. The festival was a riot of color, sound, and cuisine. With the festival day drawing near, the village of Karamu was alive with activity. With their mastery of African cooking, the mamas would spend days putting together a feast worthy of a king. The tables were decorated with grilled meats, whole of rice, and a variety of vegetable dishes. The tribe would all gather during this time to celebrate the success of their hard work. The communal dance, in which the whole village would join in happy beat, was the focal point of the festivities. The Karamu rejoiced in the land's bounty, with drums thundering, feet pounding the ground, and laughter filling the air. The dancing served as a spiritual form of expression as well as a means of thanking Alkebulan for all of his blessings. Another beloved holiday was the Festival of Rain. It was a time for prayer for the life-giving waters that supported their crops and the land, and it was held during the rainy season. By the great river, the Karamu would assemble, their voices lifting in unison as they gave thanks and offered their songs to the spirits. In Alkebulan, weddings were elaborate events that united communities and families. The bride and groom would be decked out in customary apparel, with hues and designs that honored their cultural history. The ceremony honored the joining of two spirits via a colorful tapestry of dance, music, and ceremonies. Birthdays were not just private occasions for celebration but also opportunities for community gatherings. Every villager would gather to celebrate the passing of time and acknowledge that every year was a priceless gift. The celebration would include food, music, and dancing, and the honored individual would receive blessings and well wishes from the community. Gathering together gave the Karamu comfort even at their darkest moments. Funerals were celebrations of life, not gloomy events for the deceased. The tribe would get together to commiserate and assist the bereaved family by exchanging tales and recollections. A highly esteemed event was the rite of passage, which marked the entry of youthful tribe members into adulthood. It was a period of education, introspection, and acclimatization to adult duties. The event recognized that the Karamu people's identity was a combination of their traditional roots and the ever-evolving world, bringing tradition and modernity together. The Karamu understood that these occasions were about more than just partying as the sun sank on each celebration in Alkebulan. They were about connecting, to the land, to one another, and to the spiritual world. Their festivities served as a reminder that life, with all of its joys and sorrows, was meant to be fully embraced, as well as a monument to the richness of their culture and their sincere thanks to the Mother of Mankind. Alkebulan's culinary customs were a vital part of its culture, and the old flavors were lovingly and reverently preserved. The Karamu tribe passed along techniques, recipes, and the art of using food to tell stories from generation to generation. The sharing of family recipes was one of the most treasured customs. Every family has its own recipes that were passed down only to the following generation and were carefully guarded. These recipes served as a bridge to the past and a flavor of history, more than just a list of ingredients and preparation guidelines. The tribe's master cooks, known as the mamas, were instrumental in keeping these customs alive. They would get together with their daughters and grandchildren, passing them knowledge of the finer points of flavor that distinguish their cuisine, such as when to roast meats and how to combine spices. Marinating meats and vegetables in a fragrant blend of herbs and spices that was passed down through the generations was one of these cherished recipes, called Grandmother's Spice Blend. Every mama had her own special concoction, paying homage to the ancestors' heritage while infusing it with a dash of personality. Making injera, a spongy, sourdough flatbread that was served with many meals, was another cherished custom. Making the ideal injera was a rite of passage for young women, who learned the craft from their elders. It needed time and talent. Kilishi was a delicacy produced from thinly sliced, marinated, and air-dried meats, and the Karamu also honored the ceremony of kilishi making. The meat had to be marinated in a special spice mixture, allowed to air-dry in the African sun, and then carefully packaged for storage. It was a labor-intensive operation. Kilishi was more than just a snack, it was a representation of skill and heritage. Another ancient custom that bound the Karamu to the land was foraging. Gathering wild fruits, berries, and herbs, the tribe's women would add savanna flavors to their meals. These wild materials served as a reminder of the abundance of the earth and the inventiveness of the Karamu people. The Karamu welcomed innovation while simultaneously celebrating their customs through cuisine. In the village's communal garden, residents experimented with different types of crops and methods of cultivation. Though they clung tenaciously to tradition, they understood that adaptability was vital to survive in a changing environment. The meals were storytelling in and of themselves. The Karamu people held the belief that the fragrances and tastes of their food contained tales about their forefathers, their homeland, and their people. They realized that culinary traditions were more than simply a means of subsistence. As they gathered around the communal table to share food and stories, they served as a link to their identity and a reminder of their unwavering ties to Alkebulan. Thus, the Karamu honored the past while welcoming the future as they prepared and enjoyed the richness of their culinary legacy with each meal. Food served as more than simply physical sustenance. It was a taste of tradition that bonded people to the land and to one another. It was also sustenance for the soul. Chapter 8, Alkebulan Songs. The Karamu tribe in Alkebulan used music as a universal language to communicate with their ancestors, the land, and the spirits that protected them, spanning both time and distance. Alkebulan songs were a dynamic kaleidoscope of customs, feelings, and culture. Everyday existence was enhanced by the presence of music. The songs performed while tending to crops or the rhythmic pounding of grains. The Karamu employed music to coordinate with the pulse of the soil. Their symphony included even the sounds of nature, such as the gurgling of the great river, the rustle of leaves, and the singing of birds. Song storytelling was one of the most treasured musical traditions of Alkebulan. The seniors were the guardians of this craft, the weight of wisdom and history in their voices. The tribe would assemble around nighttime fires, the flickering flames illuminating their faces as they sang songs that related the legends of their people. These songs described creation, the mighty spirits that guarded them, and the first humans who had set foot on Alkebulan's hallowed turf. Every verse served as a link to the past as they were sung in a melodic mix of languages and dialects. The stories would be absorbed by the younger tribe members, who would listen to them with rapt attention and let them influence their perception of their history and ancestry. These songs were followed by dances, in which the whole village participated, their movements mirroring the narratives being told. It served to bring the past to life, unite the present with the past, and honor the Karamu people's enduring spirit. Another essential element of Karamu culture was music. The heartbeat of their music was produced by animal-hide drums. From the sharp, staccato beat of the talking drum to the profound resonance of the mother drum, each drum had its own distinct tone and function. These instruments were revered as sacred objects that carried Alkebulan's spirit. Their music gained a melodic dimension from the xylophone, also referred to as the balafon. Made of wood and gourds, it had a hauntingly lovely sound that seemed to carry the land's murmurs. Played during ceremonies, the balafon served as a conduit between the divine and the mortal realm. The power of the human voice was likewise honored by the Karamu. A cappella performance demonstrated the tribe's mastery of music with its complex harmonies and vocalizations. These songs, which were frequently performed at social events, reverberated over the savanna, spreading their tales to the most remote regions of their homeland. The Festival of Songs was one of the biggest events in Alkebulan. Every member of the tribe would gather during this time to showcase their musical abilities, which included storytelling, drumming, and dancing. It served as a reminder that music was what brought them all together and was an eruption of creativity and camaraderie. The Karamu understood that their songs served as more than just amusement as the sun sank over the savanna, creating long shadows and a painting of crimson and gold colors in the sky. They also served as a conduit to their identity, a link to the land, and a bridge to the spirits that kept watch over them. The melodies of Alkebulan served as a dynamic demonstration of the mother of mankind's eternal spirit. Adornment in Alkebulan culture was more than just decorative elements, it was a symbol of culture, identity, and a strong bond with the land. With jewelry and body art that depicted their history and heritage, the Karamu tribe adorned themselves. The Karamu culture placed great importance on jewelry, with each piece having a purpose beyond just being beautiful. It was made of semi-precious stones, beads, brass, and ivory, materials that were in tune with the land. Inspired by the natural world, the designs featured themes honoring the creatures, flora, and constituents of Alkebulan. The tribe's female members used necklaces as a means of expressing who they were. With the selection of beads and pendants representing a woman's life journey, family, and experiences, each necklace presented a different story. A tangible connection to their ancestors, some necklaces have been handed down through the years. Another treasured accessory was a bracelet. Both men and women wore them around their wrists, each one representing a distinct facet of their identities. Some were made of carved bone, with detailed images of vegetation and animals, while others had colorful beads that reflected the hues of the savanna. Earrings with patterns ranging from basic hoops to complex metalwork were worn with pride. They served as a communication tool in addition as being ornamental. An earring's placement could reveal information about a person's age, marital status, and social standing in the tribe. An equally significant part of the Karamu ornamentation customs was body art. They drew elaborate drawings on their skin using earthly natural dyes. These patterns served as rites of passage and identification emblems in addition to being aesthetically pleasing. Young tribe members would get their first body art during the rite of passage rite. Frequently, these patterns featured representations of the terrain, fauna, and ancestral figures, indicating their passage into maturity and their bond with the country. Scarification is a type of body art in which sharp tools are used to etch elaborate patterns into the flesh. These wounds were regarded as a sign of bravery and tenacity, a badge of honor. They also related tales of bravery, tenacity, and tribal ties. The hair was also adorned in this manner. Complex hairstyles were a way for people to express themselves, and each style had a distinct meaning. While some haircuts were worn on a daily basis as a mark of pride and identity, others were saved for special occasions. The Karamu knew that their external appearance reflected their inner self, which is why they decked themselves up in jewelry, body art, and intricate hairstyles. Wearing jewelry served as a means of communication, a means of reaffirming their place in the living tapestry of Alkebulan, and a means of connecting with their history and ancestry. Therefore, the Karamu embraced the beauty of the mother of mankind that surrounded them, revered their ancestors, and celebrated their individuality as they decked themselves with the jewels of their nation. Not only ornamental, adornment served as a live reminder of their ties to the land and the Alkebulan spirit. Chapter 9: Traditions keepers. Traditions were the strong pillars that upheld the Karamu tribe's identity in Alkebulan. These ancient customs were more than just rituals, they were the foundation of their way of life. Customs that had been passed down over the generations linked the tribe to its origins in the cradle of humankind. The knowledge keepers, who are the elders, were essential in preserving these customs. In essence, they served as the living archives of Alkebulan's past, preserving knowledge that had been transmitted orally from one generation to the next. The elders made sure that the tribe's legacy was alive and well through their stories, songs, and ceremonies. Among these customs, the Festival of Ancestors was particularly dear to the Karamu people. The tribe had congregated at that time to honor their ancestors. They kindled a huge bonfire and told tales of their brave forefathers. It served as a reminder that the tribe's principles and activities ensured that the past would never be forgotten. In Alkebulan culture, symbols embellished clothes, jewelry, and dwellings, serving as a means of narrative rather than just being decorative elements. Every emblem represented the tribe's relationship to the land and its spirits and had a special meaning. For example, the spiral represented the everlasting recurrence of seasons and generations and the cyclical cycle of life. The lion, which was admired for its bravery and strength, represented bravery in the face of hardship. The tribe's identity, morals, and beliefs were expressed through these symbols, which were more than just works of art. These symbols were used in intricate designs on jewelry, which had a significant position in the daily life of the Karamu. These pieces, adorned with ivory, brass, and beads, bore the weight of tradition. They served as more than simply accessories, they were real, physical ties to the past that bound the wearers to their ancestors and the place that had raised them thousands of years before. The elders in Alkebulan were regarded as living wisdom encyclopedias. Their voices held the echo of the past, and they brought with them the tales of generations past. They were the tribe's spiritual protectors in addition to their duties as carers. As they gathered around the nightly campfire, the elders told stories of the migrations that the tribe underwent, their beginnings, and the spirits that kept watch over them. They shared stories of adversity and success, teaching the next generation important lessons and direction. The stories served as a means of preserving the Karamu people's collective memory and preserving their identity. They were more than just stories. The medical arts were also within the elders' understanding. They were expert herbalists who used the therapeutic qualities of local plants to treat illnesses. More than just a useful ability, their knowledge demonstrated the close bond that existed between the Karamu and the earth that provided for them. The elders were respected and tasked with presiding over significant rites and rituals since they were the caretakers of custom and the archives of knowledge. Their presence served to remind the tribe of their deep-rooted heritage in Alkebulan and gave these gatherings a profound sense of solemnity and continuity. Chapter 10, Ancestry's Power. The power of ancestry connected the Karamu to their ancestors and the land. It was a force that ran through their veins. Beneath old baobab trees, ancient temples were sites of great veneration. Offerings were offered and prayers were recited in this place to respect the spirits of the ancestors. According to Karamu belief, their ancestors guarded their land and kept an eye on them. They looked to these ancestral spirits for advice when faced with obstacles or crucial choices. The Karamu took power from their ties to the past, and the bond between the living and the dead was irreversible. In Alkebulan, ancestry was both a tangible concept and a living being. The tribe was reminded of their tradition of bravery and tenacity through the stories of their heroic ancestors told around fires. The Karamu felt a strong feeling of belonging because they believed in ancestral protection, which allowed them to know that their roots were deeply ingrained in the mother of humanity's hallowed land. The elements, earth, water, fire, and air, were respected in Alkebulan culture as the primary powers forming their world. The Karamu knew that the equilibrium of these elements was directly related to their own existence. To honor and give tribute to each element, rituals and rites were conducted. As a thank you for the rich soil that supported them, they would give the land the first fruits of their harvest for earth. Near the great river, people held rituals honoring water as the source of life, singing hymns and making prayers for its plentiful flow. There were two meanings associated with fire: warmth and transformation. At the Festival of Ancestors, the Karamu would light bonfires and watch the flames dance and crackle while they told stories of their ancestors' valiant exploits. The sounds that reverberated over the savanna represented the element of air, and the tribe's dancing and music honored life itself. These elemental rites demonstrated the Karamu people's profound awareness of the interdependence of all things. They understood that the land's abundant gifts and the delicate balance of the elements were essential to their survival. Healers were considered holy in Alkebulan, acting as bridges between the material and spiritual worlds. They were experts in the field of herbal medicine, treating illnesses and regaining health using the wisdom that had been passed down through the ages. Every healer possessed a distinct set of healing techniques, which were frequently closely held family secrets. They made tinctures and poultices that could heal the body and the soul from native Alkebulan herbs, roots, and plants. Their expertise went beyond the therapeutic uses of plants. It also penetrated the spiritual sphere, acknowledging the connection between physical and spiritual health. Restoring harmony to the person and the community was a greater goal of healing than just treating physical diseases. Rituals and rites were performed by healers to purify the spirit and fight off evil energies. Their knowledge was more than just useful, it was evidence of the close ties that existed between the Karamu and the place that offered them the solutions they needed. The healers of Alkebulan were held in high regard as the guardians of health and well-being. They ensured that the Karamu flourished in health and spirit by embodying the tribe's strong belief in the curative power of nature. Chapter 11. The talent for narrative. Alkebulan people treasured the tradition of storytelling as a means of preserving information, morals, and the core of their society. The tribe would huddle together around the cozy glow of evening fires and pay close attention as storytellers wove tales of their beginnings, hardships, and victories. These tales served as a way to connect with the past and transmit the knowledge of the elders, in addition to being a source of enjoyment. They talked of the animals that were related to them, the spirits that guarded the land, and the lessons passed down through the ages. The tribe's stories served as a living monument to their identity and history, weaving them together like a tapestry. The young Karamu were taught the virtues of bravery, resiliency, and unity via storytelling. By telling the tribe that they were a part of a greater story that extended into the past and would continue into the future, they ingrained in them a strong sense of belonging. Storytelling was a gift of continuity in Alkebulan, guaranteeing that the tribe's history would go on for future generations. Alkebulan rhythms were the lifeblood of the tribe, resonating both in the savanna and in the hearts of the Karamu people. Their relationship to the land, the spirits, and one another was profoundly expressed via music, which served as more than just a means of amusement. The most respected instrument was the drum, whose beats each conveyed a message. The tribe's collective dances were paced by the mother drum, which had a rich, deep resonance. The talking drum was used in the community to proclaim and deliver messages thanks to its complex beat patterns. Not only were drums instruments, but they also served as spiritual and communicational mediums. The charming xylophone known as the balafon embellished the rhythms with tunes. Made from gourds and wood, its melodies appeared to embody the spirit of the place. During ceremonies, the balafon was frequently played, bridging the gap between the divine and the mundane. It was a treasured custom to sing a cappella, with voices harmonizing in complex tunes. The ghosts that kept watch above Alkebulan were depicted in the songs together with tales of creation and history. In addition to being an auditory experience, the music served as a means of ancestor worship, celebration of life, and reconnection with the earth. Music was inextricably linked to dance. Every member of the tribe would participate, moving in time with the beats. The dancing was more than simply physical, it was a means of transcending the commonplace and making a spiritual connection with the holy. It served as a joyful declaration, a celebration of the abundance of the land, and a gentle reminder that they were a part of a more expansive, harmonious whole. The Karamu tribe realized that their story was a living history as the sun fell over the savanna, creating lengthy shadows and transforming the sky into shades of scarlet and gold. They honored their heritage, their kinship with the country, and their duty as guardians of the Mother of Humanity. Alkebulan's legacy was a monument to their tenacity, customs, and unwavering love for the country that had raised them for many centuries. Wisdom, music, storytelling, and a deep respect for the elements and their ancestors were all interwoven into this tapestry. The Karamu tribe discovered its identity and mission in their songs, dances, symbols, and customs. They saw that their journey was not just their own, it was part of a larger story that started in the cradle of mankind and would continue into the infinite future. Epilogue: Alkebulan's infinite tale. Where the savanna gave way to the sky in the center of Alkebulan, the Karamu tribe's tradition remained strong. A living example of the mother of mankind's eternal spirit, the land, the people, and their customs continued to dance together in a timeless manner. With unshakable commitment, the Karamu people preserved their traditions as generations and seasons changed. Their lives were embellished with symbolism, the stories of their ancestors reverberated through the years, and the wisdom of the elders remained to guide them. The savanna was filled with tunes and rhythms that celebrated community, the land, and life. Their relationship to the land and their individuality were reflected in the ever-evolving art of ornamentation. Reminding the Karamu of their role in the complex web of nature, the ceremonies that respected the elements and the healing arts remained essential to their way of life. The tribe ensured that the rich tapestry of their culture was passed down through the centuries by nurturing the hearts and minds of the young via storytelling. The story of Alkebulan was not a static one, rather, it was a dynamic one that changed with each new day. It was a tale of tenacity, custom, and affection for the place that had raised them. The Karamu tribe therefore realized that their story would never end as the sun set and covered the savanna in a warm, golden glow. It was a tale spoken in the balafon's melodies, penned in the wind that rustled the grass, and inscribed in the memories of every generation. A people and a land linked in the embrace of time. Alkebulan, the mother of mankind, lived on in the spirit of the Karamu, an unending story.